Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Yishai Fleischer Show, broadcasting live from Bahrain. Just kidding. From Jerusalem to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. Shalom, and welcome to our show, which is called Prosperity Through Peace. Peace Through Prosperity. Nope, it's called the Yishai Fleischer Show, and Rabbi Mike Foyer joins me. Rabbi Mike, shalom.
Salam.
Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. And right now, as we're here in beautiful Jerusalem, it's a beautiful, very hot. The heat came back. Here in Israel, there was a break.
The heat is on.
The heat is on. It's a little bakey, but out in beautiful Bahrain,
it's probably scorching.
It might be scorching outdoors, but indoors, it is so interesting. I got to tell you something.
That happens when you're floating on top of a puddle of oil. I mean, you can air condition to your heart's content.
Right. That's right. So Bahrain is very wealthy because of the oil reserve. Now, Bahrain is an island off of Saudi Arabia. And it's got a little bridge that connects to the mainland. It's ruled by a Sunni minority. There's like a powerful Shiite, well, not powerful, but a vociferous Shiite
large
group there.
And also in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they tried to make some trouble recently. They were put down. Old school.
That's the kind word for what was done.
Okay, I got no problem with that because that's the rules of the Middle East.
You have no problem with a good put down?
I don't, because that's the rules of the Middle East. That's the rules of the Middle East, and that's exactly what we're putting down. We're putting down the Palestinian uprising, which we've had 2 of them, and we put it down, saying, no, you shan't take over this place.
I mean, the truth is, we don't really play by Middle Eastern rules, because if we had truly put it down, we would have done it the way the Jordanians did in the 1970s.
Right, which was they killed 5,000 people, exiled these people out,
and haven't really had much trouble since.
Right, and that's the way you do it here in the Middle East. You may not like it. Sometimes people say to me like, but wouldn't it be nice if? I'm like, you know what? I like American-style life also, but that's just not the region.
We don't live in the Midwest.
Right, and also America's 200 years old. This place is 5,000 years old. There's norms here that have developed, and you're not going to change them easily.
And let's, of course, add to that the fact that the people who call themselves Americans, the sort of bulk, sort of white American culture, killed all the natives,
right,
and took the land.
That's right. We forget that little fact.
Small detail
that little fact. People forget about that. I'm very excited about what's happening in Bahrain right now as we speak. In fact, I want to be done with the show and get back to watching live what's going on here.
I'm not hurt by that.
No, don't take that personally. I'm very excited about it. I had a major revelation about what's happening here. I think. I don't want to aggrandize. Yeah, I don't want to aggrandize this understanding.
Torah Bahrain.
Right, but I figured something out in my head. The ostensible topic is the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Peace through prosperity.
Peace through prosperity. That's ostensibly the issue, and the promise of potentially $50 billion.
That's a big promise.
As 2 things about that. First thing, as a fundraiser for the Jewish community of Hebron, I want to say that I've learned that there's a big difference between pledges
and actual money,
and when the dollars hit the account.
Bank account. Yeah. This is very true. Many a slip twixt the cup in the lip, as they say.
That's right. Okay, so that's one. But 2, and you saw me say this on Twitter, somebody was like, the Palestinians aren't going to sell out for $50 million. I'm like, not 50 million, 50 billion. That's a completely different order of magnitude.
It's a lot of money.
That's something to sell out for, right? Famous line, and I can't say it fully on the show since we don't cuss on the show, but a famous line from Spaceballs, the movie, where he says, we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because it's a blink load of money. Okay?
Yes.
It's great. One of my favorite lines of all time. But that is all, in my opinion, the surface issue.
Uh-huh.
The bigger issue is we've been hearing rumors for a long time about normalization between Israel and the Shiite Arab states, so-called moderate, or...
You mean the Sunni Arab?
The Sunni Arab states, not the Shiite Arab states. So-called moderate Arab states. I say that because they were 5 minutes ago not moderate. Today they're suddenly moderate.
Well,
fine.
I mean, you realize the tautology. The fact that they're willing to talk to us makes them moderate,
right,
by definition.
That's fine. And that's fine. I can live with that. Here's the point, though. They've never been able to overtly put that into conference mode, into big picture mode. This conference so far I've been watching it. That's what it is. It's basically the Emirates, the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, etc., saying
Egypt,
Jordan's
there.
Jordan, I trust less, but okay. But let's say Egypt and the Emirates.
Should be not
whatever,
long for the map.
That's fine. They're saying, look, Israel's here. The very fact that Israelis are in Bahrain, overtly,
as Israelis,
not like as hidden little spies,
right. Although not as the government.
Even better. Even better. That's what the genius of the Bahrain conference is. They depoliticized the
let's
tough
just talk
issues,
business.
which is a code for let's talk
About real life instead of ideology.
Right. And I know it's hard for you to say that Jerusalem is Jewish. So don't say that. Let's just talk about how people can live better, but that's really a way for me to say, Israel, you're part of.
We're not going anywhere.
Right. Israel, you're not going anywhere. We accept that,
Right.
and it's time to normalize this region. And here's my new concept. Let's end the 100-Year War.
Yeah.
We're done with the 100-Year War. That's what it is. It's a 100-year war. Basically from 1917.
I've said it many times, man. I'm with you. And the beauty of the opportunity here is there's a way in which it could simply peter out instead of anyone needing to declare victory. I mean, so much of the language that's been coming out of the Palestinian leadership is about dignity. Dignity. It destroys our honor if we accept this money as a bribe and blood guilt and all that stuff. And it takes me back to a very hard decision that we made here in our country, the argument between Begin and Ben Gurion about accepting reparations from
Germans.
West Germany.
Yep.
Right? And Begin, in his classic stance, this is blood money, you can't take it, etc.
Right.
Our honor demands that we say no. And Ben Gurion said, okay, but I'm building a state that's every day receiving tens of thousands of Jews, real Jews,
Right.
like people who need
Real life.
homes and roads, etc. And he took it, and look, we have a thriving economy right now.
Right. With regarding to that, I see now today I've come to understand that in many ways, though you would think the opposite, in many ways I see that the Begin outlook was warped and messed up in a few things.
Yeah.
He was willing to he was not willing to take what we needed and was willing to give away what we did need. I have some issues with Begin, but this is different, by the way. There's nobody giving money here. We're talking about investment in joint projects.
No, but my point was that this cult of honor
Right.
that the Palestinian leadership claims
Yeah.
to be attached to. I say claims because in the end of the day, it's a cult of power and personality.
This
driving
is
it.
not about Arab dignity. It's such a sham, and that's exactly what Bahrain's proving.
Yes, this whole conference makes them irrelevant.
Exactly. It's huge. It's humongous, and it's being done really nice. I want to say, I want to
Everybody's
give
very well
kudos
dressed
here.
It looks good.
Yeah, definitely does. But it's Arab good. The Arabs are hosting us.
Listen,
They look
there
great,
may be.
P.S.
I was going to say there may be no other culture in the world that has perfected the ability to host as well as the
Right.
Arabs.
P.S.
They're legendary
Wearing a
for it.
dress is awesome. When can I get back to that?
I do it every Purim, and every Purim I have the same comment, which is I should dress like this
Every day.
all the time.
By the way, I do it Friday night. I have my galabia. I
Oh, you
wear it
do?
Friday night at home. Yep, absolutely.
not to shul,
No, not to shul, sadly. I'm too.
because I'm thinking in your neighborhood they might look a little askance at that.
Yeah, I'm already weird enough as it is, so they'll be like, all right, whatever. But the bottom line is I think what's happening is huge, and I think the hugeness is not in the solving of the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's in the normalization of the Israel-Arab conflict, which is much broader. The Palestinian, so-called Palestinian, because I want to distinguish between Palestinian and Palestinian leadership. The death grip of the Palestinian leadership is shrinking because of irrelevancy, also because money is not actually coming to their pockets anymore, either from America. I think that the Arabs will stop funding them if they keep going in this way, except for the $50 billion. But the $50 billion is going to be tied to real stuff. I actually foresee a lot of money coming to joint projects in Judea and Samaria.
Well, listen,
I'd love to see a railroad like the British, a Turkish-British type of railroad. I'd love to see from Istanbul. Okay, here we go. I'm going Parisian here.
Well, Yaakov Katz proposed it, didn't he? All the way out to Saudi Arabia.
That's right. You should be able to go from Istanbul through Aleppo. God rest its
Do you think
soul.
anyone's gonna ever take that train? I mean, who rides trains anymore?
All of Europe rides trains. The Eurail.
Okay.
You go through all of Europe on rail, and then you come down. You'll come down. It'll be fast. You'll come down through Israel, through the north. You'll peel off towards Mecca, Medina, Amman,
yeah.
Mecca, Medina. You'll come down through Israel. You'll go down to Cairo, Alexandria, etc. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
That's what's gonna happen here. And I don't know. I think it's a great moment. I think there are great people. I think that we love to try to destroy our great people. I think that Prime Minister Netanyahu has many flaws that I can enumerate myself. I think that the man has set two big goals for himself: economic development of this country and diplomatic development of this country.
And
I think he's succeeded in both of those in a massive way. P.S. Right now, my mother, almost in tears, tells me that there's a trilateral conference right now in Israel between Israel, the former Soviet Union, i.e. Russia,
Right, and the United States.
She said, who could have imagined this 70 years ago and when we were in the Soviet Union, 50 years ago? Who could have imagined such a thing?
Yeah, that you would have a trilateral implying like we're all on equal footing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So
Let's be a fly on
huge
the wall
stuff.
for that conversation.
People want to tear him down. And speaking of tearing great leaders down, and here I want to throw in that I want to just say this before I forget. I have much more respect I have now for Jared Kushner than I did before. He's pulled off something really cool, and I didn't know if he was just a
Court Jew?
the son. Yeah, well, he's the son-in-law. That's a different status than court Jew.
It's true. It is
it's
an
a different
odd-
status. Yeah, but I thought maybe he's just a son-in-law. Give him a job so he can do something. But no, he's pulled something cool off, and his face was glowing yesterday on TV. I saw him. His face was like he was so happy
He's
that I done.
taking a lot of heat for this.
I think he's doing great. I really think he's doing great. Great stuff. And people take heat. And that brings us to the Torah portion that brings heat on the leader.
Literally.
We've had other ones. We've had basically two challenges already. But this is there's going to be yet another one. But this is a big one.
I think this is the bitterest pill.
I didn't tell you this. Today's my secular birthday, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, June 26th, 1970.
We call it the slave date.
I like to call it, I have two birthdays. My physical body birthday, that's today, and then your spiritual birthday, your soul's birthday, that's on your Hebrew birthday.
Which is when?
Koach Sivan. Koach Sivan.
Yeah, right, I knew that.
So the thing is, this is a lot of times is my Torah portion, and frankly, as you said, it's a bitter one. It's not an easy Torah portion.
No, for sure not.
It's not an easy Torah portion. So go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I was going to say, I think it's the bitterest pill because, here we are in the rebellion of Korach. And we've seen other rebellions up to now. We saw the sort of golden calf, we can't handle it without Moshe rebellion and all the other things we've said about that. We saw this the complaints along the way. And we even saw the spies, which was like a real political rebellion. But here it comes from basically within the family. I mean, the Levites, the tribe of Levi, have been with Moshe through thick and thin, through every one of those rebellions. They were the ones that stuck with him wholeheartedly. And now, from within the most intimate camp, you have a challenge, not just to his leadership, but to his integrity. And so this accusation of nepotism, which is, you're joking about the son-in-law getting a job. And, that's essentially what's driving Korach's claim, is that Moshe took sort of political leadership for himself. He gave the spiritual leadership to his brother. He's bumping up some nobody from the rest of the family to make him the prince of the tribe of Judah. And Korach, who sees himself as the proper inheritor of that position, now wants it all. I mean, I think that this sort of rebellion from within makes it in many ways it's the most bitter that we've seen yet.
Okay, so the name of the Torah portion is Korach. It's in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar Ted Zayin, which is 16. And Moshe and Aaron had indeed a first cousin. His name was Korach. Korach was a very rich man, according to the Talmud, absurdly rich man. And he thought of himself as very important. And he was a Levi, and he was one of the men appointed to carry the Aron. He was also the head of the choir of the Levim, who sang in the Mishkan. But all that was not enough for him. He wanted more honor, and he was jealous, according to the Midrash, of 6 people, of Aaron, of Moshe, of Elazar and Itamar. He wanted to be at least a Cohen, like Aaron's sons Elazar and Itamar. He was also jealous of Nachshon ben Aminadav, the seed of Shevet of the tribe of Judah. And also, and here was the toughest one, he had a younger cousin named Elzaphan, who Moshe appointed as Nasi, as the tribal head of Kehat, which is the important family in Levi.
Right.
In the tribe of Levi, Korach was from the family of Kehat. He was older than Elzaphan. Why did Moshe choose Elzaphan over me? Korach thought. He skipped over me. The position of Nasi of the children of Kehat is mine by right. Anyway, the Medrash goes on to say that his wife was also she instigated him into a bad way. Oh my gosh! And I said, "Oh my gosh," because just last night I was preparing for the show today, and it's very famous that the first word in our Torah portion is "Vayikach," and he took. What is it that he took?
Well, that's why it's famous, because it doesn't actually say.
Right. Right. What is it that he took? So it starts off with this phrase "vayikach," and he took. And I was wondering about this last night, thinking about it. What could it mean? I remembered. What is the claim here? You, Moshe, you have power, but it's only because it's all fake. It's not from God. You've taken power to yourself.
Right.
So you're taking the most humble man in the world, whose whole gig is to lead the Jewish people through the desert to receive the Torah to the land of Israel.
Who told us explicitly that his highest dream is that all the people should have the spirit of God like him.
Right. In other words, the ultimate example of selflessness, and yet he's being called selfish. And I recalled that my good friend Alex Trayman told me that was basically what the snake told Chava. She's like, listen, the snake said to Chava, listen, God
Told me not to do it. Right.
He wants you to be superior to lord over you. Right. And the reason he's telling you not to eat this is because you're going to become like him. He's just a guy trying to keep power for himself.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so similar. This is like the snake's suggestion. And then the word vayikach is just like the word
when Chava takes the fruit.
That's right, when she takes the fruit.
That's the original lekicha.
Right. She says, "Tikach mi pirio."
Yeah.
She grabbed the fruit and she took it.
Yes.
He too grabbed the fruit.
Yes.
The fruit that says, he grabbed that he went for that same grab.
Well, I mean, there's a deep connection here because what she did was remove herself from the divine story through her agency. So I'm going to go back to the book of Breshit right now, but the whole essence there is that what God wanted for humanity, this stage, was that we should have will and selfhood, but through that will and selfhood, we should be expressive of the divine will, right? And that's how the snake was able to get Chava, because he said to her, like the Midrash says, "Is kol uman soneh ba'um nato." No. Like you have the ability to be God, and that's why God hates you. Because every craftsman hates their fellow craftsman. And she believed him, right? Whereas
she put him on the same level. That's the first thing to understand. God is like me. I'm like God. I'm on the same level as God.
Well, I mean, listen. If
a craftsman hates his fellow craftsman, it's because...
Yeah, but the sages said that because...
I'm saying the understanding is she thought that God is just like them.
Right, but there's a seed of truth in it because she either knew or felt that she was created b'tselem Elohim.
Sure.
Right, in the image of God.
Sure.
So meaning it's not a complete... Remember, that's the power of the snake. The snake never actually lies. The snake never actually lies. The snake is able to say what you already know in a way in which it makes you do that. Which
Dude, it's all about framing and narrative war.
For sure. The snake was the original. By the way, I mean, go back to that parsha. Look, God essentially does exactly what the snake said that God would do. Says, what? They become like one of us, and he kicks them out of the garden. That's exactly what the snake said God would do. And so I'm going to go into it right now. But what he convinces Chava to do is to pull herself out of the story.
Right.
I know what's right. Lekicha, and that taking of the fruit is a taking of herself as a separate entity, no longer as expressive of the wholeness of the divine story. This is exactly what Korach does. It never says in our parsha what Korach takes, because what does he do? He takes himself to the side, right? He separates himself from the story of Am Yisrael in order to gain power. I mean, you gain tremendous power when you're able to stand from the outside. The power of bikoret, of the critical, and there's potential good in that, but that wasn't his goal. His goal was to stand to the side and create a real machloket,
right?
A real argument,
right? But here's the thing: there's no creativity in that. For example, what happened here in Israel with Lieberman? People say to me, "Lieberman, he's very powerful here." I go, "But that's a power of destruction."
Yes,
that's not a real power. Real power is creativity.
And that's what real power comes from a two-step move.
I mean creativity, by the way, not like drawing a nice picture. I mean creation.
Well, and creativity comes from stepping outside. I mean, that's why we have this struggle. Is God outside creation? Is God within creation? The real creativity comes from stepping outside and then re-entering relationship. It's a two-step move. That bikoret, that critical vision, the ability to not just be stuck in what is, but to imagine what might be. By definition means you step outside. But you have to be committed to what is in order to be truly creative. So you step out, and then you step back in. Right? And that's a difference, by the way, when we say Korach is the archetype of machloket she'ena l'shem shamayim. It's an argument which is not for the sake of heaven, as opposed to Hillel and Shammai, the great rabbinic masters, who were the archetype of argument for the sake of heaven.
Right, but another way to say that, if you want to take out the word sake of heaven, there's a way you can replace that, which is an argument for the sake of creativity, building the world, or for the sake of destruction.
Right, but do you understand what underlies the real difference? What underlies the real difference? Well, I'll put it to you this way: why was the second temple destroyed?
Machloket.
Right. It was an argument. Like, so how could it be that very sense of machloket becomes the foundation of rabbinic culture? Right. It's a fantastic move that the rabbis made by convincing us that there's one critical ingredient to make machloket creative: is it has to come within the context of a commitment that we live in one world. As soon as I believe I can divide the world, that I can have my world and you can have your world,
Right.
then it just becomes destructive because then it's mine or yours. As opposed to real machloket l'shem shamayim, which is like, wow, the world is bigger than you or me. I've got my portion in it. You've got yours. Right? And therefore, I need you to be you. Because I can never have your portion if I want the world to be in its fullness, truly creative and rich and unbounded. Then it comes from belief that I don't have to agree with you. On the contrary, I will argue with you because I am right. Right? But I am right in the context of knowing that the overarching reality of the world contains us both. The truth is larger than either of us. And that in order for me to thrive and survive, I need you to do as well.
That's what I think Bahrain's about a little bit.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I for sure believe it could be about that.
You know what? And I feel okay that I'll be a little bit over optimistic. I'm okay with it.
Please do, because I'm a little bit too skeptical.
I think that something's good is happening here.
I see a lot of potential.
Yeah, and not necessarily to solve the Israel-Palestine conflict.
No. Which is one of the part of the Genius series is Bakifin, right? Let's just like work around. We're going to do a bracket. We're going to do. I
was like, why are we going to Bahrain? What's in Bahrain? I was like, I didn't even know the capital of Bahrain. I didn't even know where that city was.
Mana, how do you say it?
Yeah, mana.
Exactly.
Mana. Yeah. I'm like, and then I looked at it. I'm like, "Jeez, this looks nice."
I'm telling you, it's
nice.
It's an island of gold on top of a pool of oil.
This is a Gulf thing.
Yeah.
This is like the real Arabs, the Arabs and the Arabs from Arabia.
Yes. Lest we forget that the ones that aren't in Arabia are colonists.
That's right. That's right. Arabs from Arabia, Jews from Judea. That's just simple. By the way, I've lopped off. I finally did it. I was like, being in the so-called Hasbara or Hasbara X, whatever. Hasbara X. I make myself laugh on my birthday. Anyway, world. I used to say Judea and Samaria. I've now finally lopped off the Samaria part. I just call it Judea. Jews are from Judea. The whole thing is Judea. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, well, we're not Samaritans.
Forget it. I'm not worried about it now.
Good, bad, or otherwise.
You got to know when to cut in language battles. You got to know when to cut sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For example, Palestinians
that's
like
always the power.
Right. Palestinians like, okay, I'll use that word. People are like, how could you use that word? I'm like, because it's a group that self-identifies as Palestinians. I could live with it. I agree with you that it's not the Israel. For example, a tiny thing. For example, on Twitter, I don't write Palestinians. I write Pali, which means Palestinian, but it's different.
Oh, it is for sure.
Because it's a little bit different. Yeah, I hear it.
I hear it.
It's a tiny difference. Twitter.
Kind of like Zios.
What's a Zio?
It's like one of those neo-Nazi terms for Jews.
Oh. I like when they use the Israel occupation the Zionist occupation forces, the ZOF.
Zog. Zof.
Zof, yeah.
No, it's ZOG. It's Zionist occupation government.
Do you know about Zinos? Zionists in name only? Do you know about those folks?
I may have met some.
It's like a Rhino, which is a Republican name in name only, but this is a Zino. That's people like, that claim to be pro-Israel, but are actually not. In any case, let's get back to it. Join us on Twitter, Jewish Story.
Yes.
At Twitter, and myself.
I'm still learning. I did a little bit of back and forth this week. You're proud of me?
Yeah. I was
trying to learn.
I'm watching you.
I know. I saw.
I'm watching you.
I appreciate your moral support and the likes.
You're on my. What I do is whenever I follow a lot of people, but what I do is I make. Do you know about this? Like you can make all of somebody's tweets like jump up and appear on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't have it on your phone. Anyway, like I troll people basically. I troll you, but I'm a holy troller.
You are a holy troller.
Holy troller. Okay, fine. Here we go. Let's get back to it. We just got to the first verse. So
that's right. It's the most important one.
Yeah, Korach. Okay, went in a bad way, and then basically What's he taken? And basically he is going to. His first claim is, you've taken too much to yourself. Everybody's holy. God is inside. Why are you haughty and lord over the rest of the people, the godly people? My parents, when they see this kind of thing, immediately they're like, communist.
Yeah.
He's a commie. Yes. Okay, that's what they're like.
We are going to serve the people.
Power to the people. Right? Yes. Power to the people. Which B.J. O'Rourke once wrote, power to the people means power to me and some of my friends, right?
This is the
truth. So,
Although I don't want to miss, even in that first line, the risk of dragging you back. There's a very important message here.
Yeah.
And it says it wasn't just Korach, because it adds Datan ve'Aviram and Bnei Eliyav ve'on Peleg
Right.
ben Ruvain, meaning where all these people, Rashi is quick to point out, were all his neighbors. Remember, we had all these intense articles, all these intense parshiot about the layout of the camp. And these are all Korach's neighbors, and there's a very important insight from the sages on this. Oy l'Rasha, oy l'Shecheno. Right? Like, Nebuch to the evil person, and you know what? Just as bad to his neighbors.
Right.
You got to be careful out there, people.
Yeah.
You know, like you cannot separate yourself from your environment in its entirety.
or let's say it a different way, be cautious to put yourself into good
And so
environments.
therefore was the next, right, to make
Right.
sure that you surround yourself.
Right.
And I remember at a certain stage early in our marriage when my wife and I were trying to figure out where to live, and we have very different, I think, general worldviews on particularism and universalism. I said, at this stage of my life, I need to live somewhere where my values are going to be reflected back to me
Right.
in every direction that I turn.
Right. And
I
that-
can imagine a different stage, but not now.
Right. And that's, by the way, the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredi outlook, which is create a society that reflects those values, even if I'm going to live with certain warped lies. Meaning, say, I'm going to create certain things that you won't be, like, I'll and sometimes it becomes extreme
Yeah,
where
there
you
are
take
risks.
out women out of photographs in your newspapers.
Or can I actually vent on that for a second? Or where they do nizke mammon, when they actually do vandalism and damage by like erasing stuff on the sides of buses. Like,
Right.
I don't understand how it could be that the cultural impetus that they don't want to look at a woman's face permits them to actually violate the Torah.
Right. Right.
That's, to me, that is
But-
the sign that something's gone off the rails.
Okay, but the important thing to understand about that is that when you're trying to homogenize the world around you in order to reflect those values, okay, you can come to those negative conclusions. But I also want to see it in a positive light, which is to understand how do they live to create the next generation of followers. You create a world around you that reflects your stuff.
You said homogenize. I don't know that I necessarily agree with you on that one. I think it depends on what the value,
I want to tell you
the
something.
value that you want to reflect is.
I today, and I think that the religious Zionist world, I nurse from the world of the ultra-Orthodox. What do I mean? I'll give one simple example. Radio stations. The ultra-Orthodox radio stations play Jewish music, talk about Judaism and the Daf Yomi, and they just do a great job, better than the one single religious Zionist radio station, which does an okay job. But the Haredi radio stations are what I put on in the car when my kids are in the car with me.
and when
okay.
they're not.
And when they're not, I listen to Gentile music. No, then I listen to news really, and news is something which is a problem if they're talking about the rape of a 7-year-old girl on the radio. I don't
Yeah.
want my 11-year-old girl to be like, "What are they talking about?" Okay,
Oh, no, we
I'm
had to
not
have that
there yet.
conversation with like I talked about it with my kids.
Okay, well, I wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe.
Neither was I. I didn't have a choice. I have
Right.
teenage daughters.
Okay, so I put on the oy 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 music. You know what I mean? And we really enjoy it. Like this, sometimes I have to translate to them from Hebrew to Hebrew because they don't understand.
Oy, 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 the
they
Yiddish
don't understand what they
accent.
said today.
Ashkenazis.
They didn't know what they were saying, so I had to explain to them what they were saying. Anyway, all right, fine. Here, can we go on now to
We
the
can
next
go on
verses?
now.
Okay, fine.
Oy l'Rasha, oy l'Shechet.
Right, that's absolutely right. So he incorporated into his rebellion all kinds of other disenchanteds.
Yes, as is always true.
Right. And
Once,
you see that, by
once
the
you
way,
open
today.
the door against leadership, people will flock. That's what
Right.
happened with
You see,
Lieberman.
look at the left today here in Israel ripping the Bahrain conference. I'm like, aren't you guys pro-peace?
Right.
Aren't you guys telling us to normalize relations with the Arabs all day long?
Right.
Why would you be against this? Oh, because it
doesn't happen in the way we want.
Right. Oh, and because you're just on the other team.
Yeah.
I'm going to right after this, I'm going to Jaffa to I-24 to go for an hour. And they don't know that I'm actually going to be defending the Bahrain conference. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be there today. Any case, he gathers all these people. There's 250 people, and there's different. And this Torah portion is famous that it's a tad confusing about the various motivations.
Who's who and
who's who
what's
and
what. Yeah.
But the ringleader is Korach. Then he's got 250 people with him. He convinced 250 men to join him. Amongst them were the Nasiim, according to some of the heads of the tribes. Korach also persuaded a guy named On. He's an important man from Shevet Reuven to take his side. He'll later back out of that. Korach began to speak against Moshe. And also, of course, the two famous troublemakers, Datan and Aviram, who were waiting for such an opportunity.
They're always looking for
Right, they're looking to
a chance
revolt, to
yeah.
throw off the current leadership, right? Okay.
The people are revolting.
Right. So right, the deplorables, right? In any case, once again, the Midrash says that they really did a whole effort to get people involved by throwing lavish parties and get them into the story.
It's kind of a political campaign.
It's a political campaign. It's special dinners, and here's one of the famous. So Moses is trying very hard to assuage the people, calm them down.
He tries the soft approach at
right,
the beginning.
diplomacy. And he says, haven't you guys been blessed so much? You're a Levite, and now you're asking also to be priestly. Isn't it you, in fact, who's doing a putsch for power? Did I pronounce that word right?
Maybe.
Putsch.
I've never really known.
Putsch. Okay. I'm sure.
I said it on the air, I think 2 weeks ago, and I was like,
That's a weird word.
You know, by the way, you can Google how do I say, and it'll give you actually recorded.
Sure, of course. I Googled it. Just this morning, I tried to figure out what the word gaslighting means. I didn't exactly understand
I can explain it to you, maybe another time.
No, I got it. It means like
You're too stupid to really know.
Well done. Okay, that was good.
Just for you.
That was good. So he says, and then he says, why are you revolting? And he says, this is a famous line, V'aron mahu kitolino of what is? And the Kabbalists go nuts on this word ma.
Right.
Ma. Like, what are you? Mem, hey, and all that. Like, we are nothing but...
Well, it comes up again in Chukat.
Right.
Ma'anu.
Right.
That's what Moshe says about the Moshe.
Ma'anachnu.
Right.
Right. What are we? Meaning to say, what are we? And I can hear what it really says is, folks, we're just created beings. We're players on the stage of God. God decided these things. I certainly didn't do it from my own heart. I would have gone on vacation in Oklahoma, in Montana, Wyoming. I don't know, somewhere out there.
Oklahoma.
Well, my wife is from Texoma, so I said Oklahoma. But in any case,
listen, you know,
no, but Wyoming, whatever it is, I would have been out of here.
The Ozarks are very nice.
I would have. Truthfully, he would have gone to Kenya. We know that he's from Africa. You know, he went to hang out there. In any case,
but I want to just hit that for a second because the power of Ma, as the Kabbalists see it, is really the essence of Moshe because it's the power of leadership which comes from stepping out of the way. That Koch Ma is the rearrangement of the words of Chochma, which of course we associate with Moshe. And what Moshe is essentially saying is that Aaron, me, God, you morons!
Right?
It's
God. Stupid.
Right. I mean, like, have you seen all this? He's saying, do you think I could have done this? Do you think I could have split the sea? You think I could have brought down those places? I'm bringing them on? Like,
right. There's something dumb about that.
Yeah. He's
something dumb about
that. What do you mean?
Right.
God. And once it's God, it's Aaron Mo.
Right. Right. And also this claim that we're trying to hold power to themselves is a preposterous claim.
But it's also a deep message. What's the real source of power? How did Aaron get to where he's... Because it wasn't just an arbitrary choice on God's behalf.
No.
Because remember that the moment that Aaron becomes a Kohen was way back the first time Moshe was on Sinai in Parshat Shemot by himself when he says no to God.
Right.
Why does he say no? Because he's worried that Aaron will be jealous of him. Right? And God says, no, you don't understand your brother. He's going to see you and he's going to be happy. And that's the moment when God says, fine, I was going to make you the Kohen, Moshe, but I'm going to make Aaron. Why? Because he says, Aaron doesn't want anything for himself.
Right. And now Moses is going to call Datan and Aviram. And they said, we shall not go up. Meaning, said, we shall not come out of our tent even to speak with you. He comes down to speak with them.
Right.
They don't want to come out of the tent. They turn their back on Moses.
Yep.
And this is there's a horrible progression of you took us out of Egypt and there was good food down there. Okay, you didn't bring us into this is a land of milk and honey, but you didn't bring us. It would have better to have died in
the
Egypt.
wilderness, right?
And now it is the epitome of all reversal of narratives. Isn't it enough that you've taken out of us out of a land of milk and honey to kill us in the desert? Now you're going to rule over us, and you shall rule. Is that what it is? Meaning to say the full reversal is that was a land of milk and honey. You forced us out of there. And to kill us in the desert. I mean, it's really in some ways the most painful of verses, because it's a total reversal of the whole story.
As much as it pains me, I have to say that this voice exists within the sort of post-Zionist deconstructive narrative in our country right now.
Yes,
like once upon a time when we lived in Baghdad,
right?
Everything was good,
right?
And then these Zionists came along.
But
And
I don't hear that so much.
oh, you don't listen to the right people. You know who Avi Shlaim is?
No.
Avi Shlaim is in the world's eyes, major historian, one of the so-called new historians. That is entirely his narrative. He calls the Mizrahim, like especially his own community from Baghdad, the second victims of Zionism.
Oh.
Which is you see the sickness of the need to maintain victim status, like that's the only righteousness in the eyes of the postmodern world. But this is exactly the image that's been painted, is that it wasn't the Zionists who actually tried to create a haven for the suffering Jewish people of the world and ingather the exiles. Like, no, everything was good. We were in a good place before you came along, and you ruined it, and now you're just trying to manipulate us and rule over us.
There you go.
This is precisely, I mean, you may not hear it, but it's being said out there. And it's coming through, by the way, in the progressive American Jewish world, which is basically saying, why would we fall for you? We know exactly what you did. You ruined it for all those people for whom life was good, just so you could rule over them.
And indeed, you did not bring us to a land of milk and honey, continue Datan of Aviram, and you've not given us any inheritance. The eyes of those people should be gouged out. We shall not go up. That's. I mean, them be fighting words. Them be fighting words. You know.
Yeah, Moshe doesn't even want to fight. That's the sad part.
Right.
He's like I can't. He's like I can't believe it.
Right. And we're going to see that. We're going to actually see. We're going to see this at some point. The Mosesian falling on the face. It gets a little. It's like, dude, you got to react. And we're going to
get a little fire.
Yeah, we're going to get some fire. That's right. We're going to get some fire back. And then it said, this is interesting. It says, and it was very bad. Moses got very angry, and then Moses says something very unusual. He says, "Do not turn to their prayers, to their offerings. I have never stolen a donkey from them. I've never done anything bad to them." And the word donkey, by the way, sometimes we used the word chamor, used as the word donkey, but it also has the word stuff, matter. I've never.
The modern English is, I've never taken a thing.
I've never taken a thing from them. Right.
A penny from these guys.
Right. I've never in any way hurt them.
It's not about me.
Okay, so now this is an interesting thing. So now he's turning to a different. So that's what he says about those guys. To the 250, he says, "Okay, guys, listen. You want to be Kohanim now? No problem. Bring tomorrow your 250 people. Bring 250 fire pans, and Aaron's gonna light a fire pan. Okay?
Wait, this is one of my favorite lines.
Okay.
You know why? Remember Moshe Korach? You and all your people." Tomorrow, in front of God, in the morning. It's like,
but
it's like
what's funny
showdown.
to me is, what's funny to me is that they listen to him. See, the other guys, the two other guys, Datan and Aviram, I respect them because they went all the way against Moses. They're like, we don't even want to talk to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not listening to anything of yours. And they curse him. The other guys that want power, when Moses says to them, come tomorrow, at high noon.
We're doing the showdown.
We're doing the showdown with the fire pans. They're like, okay.
Well, that's because they're ideologues. They actually believe that they're right.
Right. Okay. All right. It's interesting, but you see that they still, in a sense, why they're going to get a lesser punishment. They're all going to fry, but the lesser punishment is that they're respected, and their fire pans are in the end going to become part of the altar.
Well, stand as a reminder and a warning.
Yes, but also there was still a higher level to them than being swallowed up in the ground, as we're going to see later, and
alive into hell.
I'm just saying there's something about them which at least, like back to the golden calf, at least they wanted to serve God, and at least they actually heard Moses and were like, okay, if that's the showdown, like there's a higher level to that. I just love
the showdown scene.
The showdown, that's right.
Me, you, Aaron, tomorrow.
And there's another famous showdown in the Torah with fire coming down from God, and this is very reminiscent of that Elijah story.
That's right.
All right. So
did you get the end of the second book yet?
No, I did not. And I've been chastised by my own wife.
Ooh, I'll let her do the chastising.
Yeah, that's right. It's just like this week's Torah portion. There you go. That's right. So, in any case, this is a little bit confusing. So they took their fire pans and they put the incense, the ketoret, on it, and they stood outside them and Moses and Aaron outside of the tent of meeting, and also Korach and his folks came outside, and this is the showdown, and God's glory is coming down on the whole congregation. And God says to Moses, okay, step back, okay? Take a step back.
Stand back. This is going to be dramatic.
Because something's going to happen here, okay? And then there's a very famous line, which appears twice in the Torah, And they fell on their faces and they said, God, the spirit of all flesh, should one person sin and you're going to destroy the whole or be angry at the whole congregation?
Yeah.
Meaning, in other words, on the simple level, what it means is distinguish God. You're a distinguishing God.
Right.
Don't judge at all. And we have a concept that when a bad judgment comes out, even good people can be swept into it. Okay?
Yeah.
When death come a knocking, you could easily get swept into it. That's in part the miracle of the firstborn in Egypt, which is like we didn't get swept into it, but we had to take acts to separate ourselves from it.
That's why there's a whole emphasis of painting the doorposts,
right.
etc.
And here it's separate yourselves. Separate yourselves.
You stand back. This is going to be messy.
Right. So move back from Korach and Datan of Aviram. So then instead of, this is interesting, it says move away from them. The next verse says, and Moses went towards them. He goes to the Datan of Aviram, and the elders go after him.
Right, he tries to give him one last chance.
Maybe he tries to give him one last chance, and then he actually turns around and he says to the people, move away from, maybe he goes down there in order to separate the people that's, as you said before, the neighbors, away from these people, and don't touch anything of theirs. Everybody moved back from Korach to Datan Aviram, but the Datan Aviram stood, this time they did come out, they stood proverbially with their hands folded at the opening of the tents, them, their wives, and their children.
Yeah, it's...
Meaning to say defiance.
Oh, yes.
Defiance all the way. This is, I find that the reason that we see this in last week's Parsha with the Meraglim, with the spies, who yet again reverted to...
doubled down on their
because
assertions.
What the Torah is trying to tell us is, even at the last moment, there's a chance for you to do tshuva and say, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And the fact, and they didn't, meaning to say they doubled down, which tells us also when we lose our cool, when we eat the muffin that we weren't supposed to eat, don't double down on it and say, okay, I'll eat the next muffin or I'll do it again. Don't give yourself a heter. Learn that, like, if you did sin, that's one thing, but repent, come back from it, pull back.
Yeah, they're two separate problems. One is the initial act, which was wrong. The second is the refusal to accept that you've done something wrong.
Right.
And we've spoken about this so many times, is that there's a psychology that wants to elevate our sins into ideologies.
Right.
And it can be idolatrous in the sense of, like, literally worshiping them.
Right.
Or it can just be self-justifying. And we see, in that one of my favorite sayings is that faced with the impossible and the unacceptable, people will take the impossible. Right? Because the unacceptable involves reassessing what you believe and admitting failure and changing, whereas the impossible just keeps inserting that, no, it's going to happen. I know it hasn't happened the last 8 times. It's going to happen this time. Like, and it's a psychology that's bound up with an unwillingness to accept one's own shortcomings. And it doesn't lead good places, as we see here.
Yeah. And that's a mark of the mark of a great human being is not that he doesn't fall, that he gets back up after he falls,
which necessitates accepting failure first.
Right. Okay, so they stood outside of their tents, defiant. And now Moses says, "Remember that accusation you said about me before, that it was all from me? Now you're gonna know it's not from me."
He does kind of
that all these things are not from my heart, literally. If they die a regular death, then God did not send me. It's like a double negative. If they died a regular death, God did not send me. However, if a new creation shall be created, and the earth shall open up its mouth, and it swallows them, and they'll go down alive. My father used to get scared from this verse. They would go down alive to H double hockey sticks, right? Like H-E double hockey sticks. If they go down to Sheolah. Sheolah is like...
It's the pit.
It's the pit. It reminds me of the Greek... what do they call it over there? The river Styx?
Hades.
What was it? Hades, that whole thing.
You know what I think of with this scene? Forget which one of the Star Wars movies where they throw them into the mouth of the sand creature.
Yes.
Or Dune. When the sandworm comes up and just...
Yes, the sound creature. That's right. They're going to go down alive. Why? Because they made God angry. When he finished speaking these things, the earth...
Because there's a mercy in death.
Right. And so why are you saying that?
Because that's why they're going to go down alive.
Well, our rabbis actually say that when they go down, The reason they're alive is because they proclaimed, and then the Talmud even talks about that people heard these voices in different places, that they proclaimed that God is just and his justice is just.
Well, we have psalms written by Bnei Korach, right? And
the sons of Korach.
The sons of Korach, right? So the Midrash says that the sons of Korach, as opposed to everybody else here, the last minute repent. There's various stories about it, and so God gives them like an island or like a little peak, little platform. So they're like still there,
right,
singing the praises of God, alive, but not like in the pit.
That's right.
So that be a warning.
The other midrash is that when the mouth opened up and their tents and stuff fell in,
sink, right?
But then any object that they owned across the camp flew in. So if you had borrowed a pot, it'd fly out of your tent and went in there. A needle. There were needles flying through the camp. That's right. You got to be careful of flying needles here. Needle crossing, and anything would just like their whole anything that they touched was erased. Except that Korach got a whole Torah portion named after him. Notice that.
That's true.
So he's
and he has a rather important descendant.
That's right. We'll get to that in a second. So they all went down alive to the netherworlds. The earth closed, and they were erased from the congregation. There's different words here, by the way. Eidah, kahal.
Yeah.
A lot of different words here, and it's interesting why that is. In any case, but instead of being, everybody was being like down in the story of Elijah, where people are like, God is
the king.
People here instead were like, it was pandemonium.
And
then a fire comes out, and the 250 pan
incense offers
fire comes down and get incinerated. I think their souls, not their bodies.
Unclear.
I think that their bodies also didn't get burnt, but in any case, I think that they.
I like to just picture it that there's nothing left but smoking copper. Just picture all those pans on the ground.
You see, Rabbi Mike's got another
copper.
side. Sometimes it comes out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, they got zapped from this fire. God says to Moses, "Okay, little thing happened here. So why don't you pick up all of the fire pans
after they cool down?
Or use gloves, okay? Because here's some weird stuff. Because they were sanctified. That's what I meant to say to you.
Yes, they were used in Avoda. I hear it.
It's a different level than getting swallowed and erased.
Yes, because
those guys got erased.
You are correct. Those guys completely pulled themselves out. They were glorifying Egypt.
Right.
These other people just wanted to be in charge of the surface of God.
Right. And that's different.
I hear this.
And so they get a completely
Which one's
different...
better, which one's worse, we could have arguments about it. But I hear your point in the shot here
on
is...
On the value level, they did a better thing than those guys. It's like the Talmud will argue ad nauseum about different levels, like which death do you get? This death or this death? No, you're just getting death. No, there's like...
Listen, my point is this, is that the absolute rebellion at a certain point offers a complete alternative to the worship of God. There's a deeper struggle on some level that happens if you claim to actually have the proper worship of God from within. There's its own problematic in that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. To me, there's a difference between, let's call it two kinds of sins. Sin of the calf, where you want to go wild.
My point is that can be worse. It actually corrupts the thing itself as opposed to breaking away and trying to do something else. There's a problem in that.
Yeah. I hear
Shots
you.
with
I
you.
hear you. Okay.
Your argument is good.
Good. Okay. So indeed he does take these things and he makes them into a covering for the altar. And it says, as a memorial for the children of Israel, so that you shouldn't bring a strange fire that is not from the children of Aaron. By the way, there is a similarity here to the sons of Aaron who brought a strange fire. That story kind of keeps going here, and here Aaron's honored, but it doesn't stop really exactly there. This is
we're not done yet.
We're not quite done yet
because the people are in a complete and absolute state.
Right. Well, you would also, if there was an earthquake, people were swallowed, other people, 250 people,
fire rained down from heaven. Yeah,
you're gonna get upset about these things.
It's true, but I don't know that I would turn on Moshe at this point.
Right.
It just seems like a bad move.
Okay.
Although I have to tell you, before we get there, that's what happens, right? The people turn on Moshe.
So the people turn on Moshe, and they say to him, "You here's a bad one. You are killing God's people."
Right. So the depth of this on the surface of it doesn't make any sense. It's like, wait, first of all, you're repeating the sin of Datan, Aviram, and Korach. Like, why would you do that? You just saw the consequences. Second of all, Moshe the whole time has been trying to stop this. rebellion, and in the end, and listen, they got what they were seeking. But I have to tell you, my experience as a counselor with at-risk youth actually tells me the entire truth of what this story is about here. Because I remember once I was on a river trip and thunderstorm came in rapid. We're out in the water. You'd think I'm in charge, right? So I start giving commands and got to do this, that. So a normal person in that situation does what? They listen to whatever I tell them to do because
Sure.
I am the source of their safety.
Right.
But if you're emotionally disturbed, you know what you do? Don't tell me what to do. You don't know what's happening. Your fear sort of warps your ability to deal in a rational fashion with the situation. This is the indication that the people are still slaves at heart.
Right.
Right? Their disturbance is so deep that the rational thing of saying to emotion, like, wow, okay, we get it, is out the window. There's such a panic now that the only thing they can do is turn on motion, which is to me is heartbreaking. You see at this point that none of them can go.
Right. Then God says, yet again,
All right, get out of my way.
get out of my way, I'm going to strike him down. The Jews. It doesn't even say, I'll make you into something. Just
get out of my way.
get out of the way because I've had enough. Also, like, we're not allowed to use the name of God so flippantly, and it's like you are killing the people of God. So you're using God's people name to point a finger at Moses. It's all backwards. It's all so backwards. So then they fell on their faces because God says, "I'll destroy the Jewish people. I'll eat them instantly." However, Moses turns to Aaron and he says, take a fire pan with incense and go quickly to the people and
Intervene for them?
intervene for them, because I know that God's wrath has come out and it is beginning to indeed kill people. There's a plague, a fire plague, and this is a fascinating verse which I told you I think 2 years ago that I think should have been made into a painting.
Rembrandt should have done this
like
one.
a type of Rembrandt, but Rembrandt's kind of too still for that. We need an action kind of artist, which is Aaron takes and by the way, look at that word. What's the word? Vayikach. Okay, same word as the first word in the Torah portion. Okay, this guy, there's different. These are different takers. Okay, he took to wreck Korach. He takes to save and to build, and he takes this fire pan. He runs as opposed to going quickly. What Moses said, which you could see that there's just a little bit more annoyance that Moses has with the people than Aaron. Aaron has more love for the people
in general,
and he says, and so Moses told him, "Go quick," but Aaron runs. That little change shows you a little difference. He ran into
the breach.
Into the breach. Maybe I could call the name of the show Into the Breach. I like that.
I mean, it has so many meanings in this.
Right. And the thing is that he risked his life, and we have to understand that. You're going into a plague, going into a fire, and it's again a principle which is even a righteous person can be swept up. And indeed, people are dying. And he lights the fire pan, and he does kapara. What do we call that? Expiation, atonement for the people. And then it says beautifully, "Vayamod bein hametim ubein hachayim v'te'atzer ha'magefa." He stood between the living and the dead with his fire pan, and the plague stopped. Okay, and I think 15,000 people died in this plague. Vayu metim b'magefa 14,700.
That's pretty close, 15.
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay, so that was really the like. So it was like death led to death led to death.
Yeah, this is total breakdown here.
Yeah, total breakdown here. Bacchanalia over there, just wild stuff. And this is why this Torah portion is so. There's something in this Torah portion which is just unusual, and that's the next section. And I want to tell you that I remember very well where I learned this Torah portion. I told you this a year ago or 2 years ago. I was in Amsterdam, right after college. I went to hang out with my good friend, Ari Silverman, who's a listener to the show.
Oh.
Ari Silverman, my brother, who was in yeshiva with me and was living in Amsterdam, working in Amsterdam at the time. And I was learning this Torah portion. Amsterdam is famous for a lot of stuff. Some a bit off color, but some very beautiful things. Canals,
Anne Frank.
Van Gogh, and Frank, etc. Legalization of certain things, whatever. The point is that but it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful town. But there's one more thing that you might not associate, but it is actually very famous, and that is flowers.
Yes.
Flowers. Amsterdam is very famous for its flowers and its flower market. And then I was learning this Torah portion. And this Torah portion, this next section is about that, okay, we had the whole death thing. Now people are like, and there's been many proofs that Aaron is the chosen priest, high priest. But this next section says, God says to Moses, tell the children of Israel, take a staff for each one of the heads of the tribes, 12 staffs, write your name on the staffs, and then write the name of Aaron on one of the staffs, on the staff of Levi, and put them in the tent of meeting. And the person that I shall choose, his staff will flower, and thereby I will
show forever that this
and throw off the doubts. Off
Yeah.
the doubts and the complaints. So they're like, oh, okay. So they give indeed these 12 staffs. They put them in the tent of meeting. In the morning, they come back, and indeed, Aaron's staff flowered to the house of Levi to Levi, and it had the flower of the almonds, and it gave an almond fruit. And he takes out all the staffs, and he gives it. And people saw it, and they took it. To me, this is like a what?
Yeah, it's strange.
We were talking fire and death and blood here. Now we're
Ground
talking
with the
about
mouth, and now you're like, stick with flowers.
stick of flour. All right, I guess you're right.
Well, that's impressive. Well, up to now, I wasn't really so sure.
Right. The mouth opens up. Things are being swallowed.
250
Pots are
people
flying.
incinerated.
They're incinerated.
Still wasn't
Plague,
sure.
15,000. Oh,
Would you see that? It's got
look at that.
almonds. He must be the one.
But on the deeper level, the stick that is dried out, that's what these people are saying. We're dried out. We don't have any strength. And this is a reminiscent of chapter, 35 or 36? 36, I think, in the book of Ezekiel with the dry bones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, there's no way we could be reborn through all this death and all this stuff that we face. No, see, your dry staff is actually alive. I can give rebirth to this rod. To this people, this is the way to go. And flower. What does flower represent? It's beautiful, like a pregnant woman is beautiful
Because it's bearing fruit.
but it's bearing fruit.
And I think that it's part of the general sort of package of lessons of leadership that comes from this parsha, which is that, listen, it's true that the fear and the lights and the show and the drama can go pretty far in leadership. At the end of the day, real leadership comes when you can show people a path which is life-giving and bears fruit.
Right. It goes back to the Torah portion of Shlach, which is Chai Ani. I'm alive.
Right.
There's life, guys. There's life here.
Right.
I want to give you life.
And ultimately, that is what people will follow.
I've always wondered why it didn't become a more Jewish symbol, like the staff with a flower coming out of it.
It's an interesting question.
I would have thought that it would be a beautiful Jewish symbol.
It is a good one.
And speaking of symbols, it is also going. The Torah is going to tell us that at the end, this is going to be part of some of the things that are kept in the ark or next to the ark.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have the flowering staff, and it's going to be perpetually flowering.
Right.
Right. It's
like
perpetually.
It's like one of those like plastic fake plant flowers.
Right. Maybe now that I think about it, right. Maybe now that I think about it, it's another answer to the burning bush. There's a fire, and the bush doesn't get eaten. There's a staff. It can turn into a snake. It can turn back. But now I just want you to know, past that, past the fire and the snake, there's a flower.
Yeah.
There's a beauty to this world.
I mean, it brings to my mind the midrash that says that all of Har Sinai burst into bloom
Right.
when God spoke out the Ten Commandments.
Right. So there's one version where it's like fiery and thunder and lightning and the voice of God, and you hear it, you're
Right,
dying.
and that's like impressive and all that. But
Right.
in the end of the day, what people will follow and what really makes them push through all the difficulties is not fear and threat and drama.
Right.
It's the sense that there's life on the other side.
And maybe that's what I'm trying to say about Bahrain, which is like the end of the 100 Years' War, and let's this is not, and the left is trying to sell this as like, look, they're trying to like
Sell them out.
sell them out
Trying
and all
to
that.
bribe them,
There's
take
no
their dignity.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude.
Well, the reality is a person has as much dignity as they decide they have.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, who's to say that the most dignified act right now would the most glorified Arab leader ever wouldn't be the one who steps forward and says, "Okay, see this? This is the sword. We're burying it. Yes, we need your help to rebuild our economies and get our culture back on its feet after a 100-year war.
Right.
Yes, I am able to accept that fact.
Right.
And yes, I'm going to devote my life to building a better world for my children and yours. Okay, right. You can't be more dignified than that.
That's right.
And it's this false cult of honor, which is feeding a lot of people in their own power, that is standing in the way of peace at this point.
Right. I don't even use the word peace. It's
standing in the way of life.
Yeah, it's a
standing in the way of life.
And I actually think that there's many things in this whole Bahrain thing that I've been very impressed with. Also, the slogan of it, it's peace through prosperity.
Yeah.
There's something very beautiful about that. Really. Any case, that is the last narrative part of the Torah portion. And then there is some legal sides to it, and I just want to read a little bit about that because I think it's very important. That after Korach argued against the Kohanim, Hashem told Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, I'll make an agreement with Aaron and his descendants in which I promise them 24 different gifts.
That's right.
Okay? That's right. This Torah calls this the Brit Melach, a treaty of salt. Just as salt never decomposes, so too this treaty lasts forever. 24 gifts must be given by the Jews to the Kohanim, and here are some of them. When a Jew offers a korban, an offering, he usually has to give a part of it to a Kohen to eat. The Kohanim also receive a portion of korbanot offered by the entire community, korbanot tzibur. Every week, 12 fresh loaves of the of showbread, lechem hapanim, were put on the shulchan. The 12 loaves were then taken off and given to the Kohanim. If a Jew in the time of the Beit HaMikdash slaughtered a domestic animal to eat its meat, not a korban, just to eat, he had to give 3 parts of it to the Kohen: the zroa, the right shoulder, the jaws, and the stomach. If a Jew's kosher domestic animal had a firstborn, he gives it to the Kohen. The Kohen brings it to the Beit HaMikdash. Part of the animal is burnt on the Mizbech and part he keeps for himself. If a Jew has a firstborn son, I didn't have a firstborn son, but if you do, my brother did, a baby must be redeemed with money. We do this to this very day. The money is given to the Kohen. These silver coins we give him today. It's beautiful, beautiful ceremony. A Jew who owns fields, vineyards, or olive yards, or orchards must give a part of their produce to a Kohen. The portion he takes out of the Kohen is called Truma. The Chachamim taught that the sages taught that the Truma should be at least 1/60th of one's produce. It could be 1/50th or 1/40th. Challah, when a Jew bakes dough, he must give a part of it to the Kohen. Today we burn it up, but hopefully we'll fix that up.
Soon by you.
Soon by all of us, right? What?
I said soon by you. Yeah.
Just as Hashem and in general, we basically, there's one more aspect of it. There's a few more aspects, but just as Hashem has an agreement with Kohanim, he also had an agreement with the Levim. The Levites receive a gift from Bnei Israel. After giving Truma to a Kohen, a Jew must separate 1/10 of all his grain, fruit, and vegetables after the first gift of Truma and vegetables and give it to a Levi. This 10th is called Maser. The Levi must take 1/10 of what he received and give it to a Kohen. The portion he gives to a Kohen is called Trumat Maser. Okay?
I want to push a little bit on the translation you're giving to Brit here, which is like agreement or contract. And I'll point out that a Brit, properly translated, we say, is a covenant. It has a contractual element, which is what you're pointing out. I mean, the Levim and the Kohanim have a lot of work to do. And as such, in the temple, they can't be out in their fields or with the flocks in the pastures. And that's the sort of contractual element that's happening here, is that God says, you work for me, and I'll have the people pay you. But there's a deeper element to covenant beyond contract. And the covenantal element is it's an entering into a relationship which will allow you to become the person that you couldn't otherwise be. Right? That's why marriage is a covenant. Mm-hmm. There are contractual elements to marriage, like I'll do this and that, and etc. You'll do this and that's important. Not dismissing it at all. But the deeper, people don't enter into marriage in order to have a good, secure contract. They enter into marriage because they believe there's someone they can't be until they're married. So in the same way, the Kohanim and the Leviim represent that element within Am Yisrael, which is able to flower when it's freed from the obligation of labor in the fields and the pastures. That spiritual element that is possible in all human beings. The Rambam will later say that anybody who wants to devote themselves to God is able to achieve that status. But it's critical. Why? Because it goes back to why Aaron. Not everybody flowers and blossoms becomes a tremendous spiritual servant of God when you free them up from the obligation of work. Many people will sit on the couch and flip through the channels.
Right.
And so part of what we're seeing here is God's deep belief that by entering into a covenant with Aaron and the Leviim, that they will be able to become that portion of Am Yisrael, which is so critical to its spiritual mission. Right? And it's something that we as a people, God did after all call us Mamleket Kohanim, right? A nation of the Kohanim before Sinai. We should think about what would happen if peace comes. What will we do with all of that energy that we've devoted, thank God, to building and fighting and being secure? Now's the time to think about it. What is our vision of bringing our full potential to the world? Because if God's going to bless us right now out of this Bahrain conference or wherever, and please let it be soon, let it be now, that we're not looking to get sort of an easy life. If Am Yisrael is looking to get an easy life, I got news for you. It ain't going to end well. If we're looking to free our energies in order to fulfill our divine mission, well, then I can imagine how this would all play out positively. And I think that's a very important piece of why a covenant's not just a contract, but is really an opportunity to become that which you couldn't be otherwise.
Beautiful. All right, so you're saying that Brit is really about becoming that which you could be. The marriage the marriage example is a very powerful example. You really become something else.
Yeah, the contractual lays a groundwork.
Right,
but
I
it's
got
not
you.
what the thing itself is.
Right. So, I just want to finish off this long Torah portion. Is that there's a discussion about really Hashem's choices. And basically the question is, why do you think that Hashem does not know how to pick the best people for himself? Or not even the best, whatever he wants. This is also about our lives. So many times we're like disappointed that we're not there. And it's a flaw in faith.
You want to be in Bahrain right now.
It would have been nice. After all, I would have worn one of those dresses. After all, he, what do you call them? Galabia. After all, he seems not only the outside of a person, but could see the inside of each one's heart. If he chooses someone for himself, there's a good reason for it. So Rabbi Yeshua taught 6 things were chosen by Hashem. The Kohanim to be the holiest in the Beit Mikdash, the Leviim to help the Kohanim, the Jewish nation to be holier than other nations, the family of David to be kings forever, the city of Yerushalayim to be Hashem's holy city, and the Beit HaMikdash to be Hashem's dwelling place. These are like
fixed points.
Right.
In
Fixed
the divine
points.
relationship
Right.
to creation.
Right, you could go crazy and try to fight it, but these are things that they might be in part a little bit hidden, or maybe today more revealed than for a long time.
Yeah, and I would say
Like if you come to Yerushalayim, you know that it's the holy city.
right, but I would say what the challenge is that God chose these things and then gave it over to Am Yisrael to make sure
To
that
fulfill
they're-
them.
Exactly, that they're exposed in the world.
Right, but yes, but
But that they're exposed. He didn't.
Right.
Not that they exist.
right. These are pillars.
Yeah.
These are pillars.
This is the topography
This is
on which we move.
The pillars. So the Kohanim, the holiest in the Beit Mikdash, we don't quite have that today. Levim to be the help the Kohanim, we have just memories of these things, reminders of these things. Jewish nation to be holier than other nations, I think we have that. Family of David to be
gotta live
kings
up to
forever,
it.
got to live up to it. But I think we often do, not always. The family of David to be kings forever, hidden. The city of Yerushalayim to be Hashem's holy city,
Working on it.
more revealed than in the last 2,000 years. And the Beit HaMikdash to be Hashem's holy dwelling place.
Let it be
That's
soon.
on the
Let it be
agenda
now.
later in the day in Bahrain. Okay? They'll be working on that. Maybe not. But in any case, those are fixed points in the world. Rabbi Mike Feuer, thank you so much. I know that us doing the show and your other shows are fixed points for people's lives to get closer to Hashem. That's a great honor. I want to tell you folks personally, when I go to sleep at night, I think 2 things. I say, thank you, God, for my family. Thank you, God, for living in Eretz Yisrael. And thank you, God, for having any role in your great time and great revelation, and to be on any level a soldier, a player in this time. And that is something that we really, I think we should be very thankful for. And I feel sad for all the people who see it as a dark time, a bad time, and don't understand what an incredible like gift it is to be alive in this time.
Amen.
Yeah, it's just so, it's like, dude, Don't you see, like...
Open your eyes.
Open
and
your
see.
eyes. That's it. All right, folks, you've been listening to the Yishai Fleischer Show. More great stuff is on the way. I'll be on I-24 later on this afternoon. Join Rabbi Mike Foyer on his other show called The Jewish Story, which is found at jewishstory.co. And also Rav Mike, facebook.com/Rav Mike, and Rav Mike at thelandofisrael.com. That's his email, but that also bespeaks of the excellent broadcast network that we have for you here with shows every single day, mostly. It's, we strive for almost every day, but we have very regular shows, very fixed pillars in your life. So please join us, and also join us on Twitter. Both Rabbi Mike and I are on Twitter, and Maka as well. So we're out there fighting the narrative war and the soft power diplomacy on this platform before they deplatform us. So you could join, and that's a lot of fun. And of course, visit us in Hebron. Come to the fathers and mothers. Go to hebronfund.org. Donate if you so wish. And somebody wrote to me, a good friend of mine wrote to me yesterday that he's going to be dedicating a show soon. So I'm excited about
Awesome.
that. But you could definitely dedicate a show on your show as well, am I right?
That is correct.
Absolutely. That's a great way to spread your beloved's name out to the world and to spread Torah. So please support our podcast either at thelandofisrael.com, at yishayfleischer.com, or jewishstory.co. CO, by the way, is not a shortened version. It's like a country. It's like Colombia.
Yeah, I know. You guys didn't know I had a past.
No, I thought you were Juan Valdez out there. That's exactly it. All right, yeah. Speaking of Juan Valdez, keep caffeinated, folks. Keep strong out there, and eyes wide open about the great time that we're living in. And blessings to you from the land of blessings. More great stuff. We'll be back with Malka Fleischer right after the break. And shalom. Shalom.
Shalom.
On a very special edition of Israel Uncensored with Josh Haston, the New England Patriots arrive in Israel. Hear exclusive interviews from Julian Edelman, Drew Bledsoe, Ty Law, and more.
What does it mean for you to be in Israel?
It means a lot. I mean, to come to the Holy Land and actually see American football.
It's pretty heartwarming to come out here and have all the Israeli fans screaming your name.
It's such an amazing combination of brand new and very old, and the soulful and the spirituality here.
For more coverage of the Touchdown in Israel event in Jerusalem, listen to Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.
All right, folks, we're back here on the Yishai Fleischer Show, broadcasting live this half from Judea. Shalom and welcome to Malka Fleischer. Shalom.
Shalom.
Welcome to you onto the show, and welcome the show to your home.
Yes.
Thank you, Malka.
Thank you very much. Well, Yishai, I'm happy to have the show here because in a few days I'm going to have a lot more here
That's right.
than just the show.
Why is that?
Because I'm going to have my 3 children here all the time because it's going to be summer vacation.
Right, so-called summer vacation, because it also entails...
What they mean is summer parent work time.
That's right, summer... But our kids are going to be in various camps for the first month and a half. Is that right?
So one of the things that I think about is very good about Israel is the acknowledgement, basically, that Israeli society has that many, many women are working.
Yeah.
And that they need some kind of a situation to help them with their kids while they're doing that. So, for example, childcare from the age of 6 months, even less, all the way up till the age of 3 is either can be either third grade, pre-K or whatever for 3-year-olds is free already in Israel. That started even when our daughter Leah Batzion was little. So we actually paid for pre-K when she was 3, but then when our next kid was 3, we already weren't paying for pre-K. But also, daycare for children is either heavily subsidized or very affordable for working mothers. And also included in that is summer camp. Everyone understands that moms can't actually be home with their kids for 3 months in the summertime. So there's another month that you can pay basically a little bit more money and have your child involved in like another month of like a school/camp mixture. So our son, our 3-year-old Yisrael, he'll be going to school camp mixture. But then our older son, Elazar, he was eligible for some more school camp mixture for his school. But instead of that, I'm signing him up for Taekwondo camp.
That's right.
With his sister, who is not eligible for school camp mixture because she is already too old for that program.
That Taekwondo camp
but we're doing
makes
Taekwondo.
them sweat. They come
sweat,
home.
but they also go, it's not just Taekwondo, which they usually go up like a belt or a half a
Right.
belt during
It's
Taekwondo.
acrobatics,
Yeah,
swimming.
and swimming. I think they're going to a theme park this
Oh my
year
gosh,
and
that's
all kinds
awesome.
of awesomeness.
Yeah, that's
I always have to provide 5 shekels for some kind of a cold drink that I would normally not allow them to consume.
That's right. That's right.
But, summer.
Yeah, it's quite summer out here. I have found that I used to be really I used to love the heat, and I still like the heat, but it's a hot heat right now for me. Some people say it's hotter these days. I don't know.
You think? I don't know. You're into the global warming?
The truth is, I don't think it's hotter. I remember when I was a kid, like in New Jersey, man, that was hot. Oh my gosh!
I grew up in Texas, dude. I don't know if you have what to tell me about summer heat.
It's summer heat.
Plus, we used to have this situation. We had the central air. A lot of families in America and in Texas in particular have central air. So
America has central air, sweetie.
Yeah,
Americans
like central air. So
Israelis, by the way, have less central air.
Less central air.
We have oftentimes these
like
units.
a window unit or a wall unit.
No, nobody has a window unit anymore.
Not in Israel. People don't have a window unit.
No,
in
they
Israel.
have these wall
But we
units.
have wall units. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw, by the way, on AliExpress. Do you guys know what AliExpress is? It's this Chinese website where you can buy like all kinds of Chinese tchotchke like things. It used to be really, really cheap. Now it's just kind of more affordable than what you can get in America because they figured out that people will pay money for their stuff. So I saw this like little box that you can buy, an air conditioner box. And you pour water into it. I think they call it, in Israel, they call it like a
Desert cooler.
Desert cooler. But in Israel, it's this like big old thing on wheels, and you can wheel it around into different rooms.
big
Some
ol'.
people still have those, but barely.
Yeah, no, you see them.
It's less, but every once in a while
you see them in Israel. A lot of places you see them. I just saw them because in Hebron, it's interesting. All the guard posts for the army are now shaded. They have either a tent or a box,
Oh, wow.
and then they have some kind of AC.
What?
When I was in the army,
Want no AC.
back when I was in the army, there was no AC.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
You just AC'd naturally through something called sweat. Okay,
Yeah.
but
So anyway, I saw this like AC. It was like $23 for this like little box. I think you plug it into your computer or something, and it's supposed to air
I'm
condition
sure it
you.
works
I'm
really
tempted
good
to buy it
for
'cause I
3
love
days.
AC so much.
no, Malka, no, don't.
Okay, I
buy it.
won't.
Do not.
But
do
the
not
point
spend
is that we had this situation in Sherman, Texas, where I grew up, that almost not every year, but more years than seems normal, red fire ants would chew through the wiring of the main air conditioner box, the big box outside. And then we'd be out of air conditioning for a couple of days, which is very, very bad because the air conditioner people in Texas are very busy. And so I remember a couple of times in my childhood, we had like ceiling fans. So I'd turn on the ceiling fan and I took a Ziploc bag and filled it with ice and slept with it on my stomach.
Oh my God.
Because it was, and that was like, right? It was like so hot. It was really hot.
Yeah,
That's my story.
And there's these.
So I don't know if they did that in, Yankee
You know
Town,
what's even
New
hotter
Jersey.
than that? It's these ultra Orthodox Jews that live in Arad,
Which is a town in the desert.
and they're not just a regular ultra Orthodox. They're Hasidic with the ones that wear the fur hats, and they walk around in this desert
Do you
town
think they wear the hat
on
in the
Shabbos.
summertime?
On Shabbos, if they believe in God,
Yeah,
what I
come on.
mean? Oh my gosh! So yesterday I told you that it was hotter than a Chassid's head. A Gur Chassid living in Arad. Under his hat, and you added on the 9th of Av.
On Tisha B'Av,
On
yeah.
Tisha B'Av. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty warm. It's not even, what's crazy is it's not even so warm yet. It's going to get hotter, but
Yeah.
it's hot.
You know where it's hot sometimes? If you're like a neo-Nazi in Germany.
Wow, that segue was so good.
Yeah. What?
So I wanted to tell you guys this story. Isha, you haven't heard the story yet.
I haven't heard the full story. I heard.
You haven't heard
the
I gave you like the run up to the story, but basically there was gonna be a shield and sword white nationalist rock music festival.
Wait, white nationalist? I was recently accused that on Twitter. Can I come in or what?
No, I don't think you. I don't think you qualify, seeing as that it was a neo-Nazi event. You'd have to dye your hair blonde. I don't know. I think it would be too much effort.
Okay, yeah.
But it was at this town called Ostritz, a German town near the border with Poland. So a German court had already banned alcohol at the event because they said that it was going to get too violent.
You know how they are. Neo-Nazis and alcohol don't mix.
Yeah, I think neo-Nazis and every single thing in the world don't mix.
Yeah.
But so local activists were still not happy enough with the neo-Nazi event at the festival. So they went to the local grocery store. The people of the town went to the local grocery store and they bought 200 crates of beer, clearing out every drop of alcohol in the entire town.
Okay.
So that the Nazis would arrive at the festival and the beer was already banned at the event, but then they would walk to the grocery store and that would be out of beer. So the Nazis were totally beerless and alcoholless at the event, and the activists saved the beer and they're going to be making their own party, their like anti-neo-Nazi party later on with all their beer.
That was the witty way that they I thought you were going to say that they bought like 200 jars of honey and then smeared it everywhere.
Poured it everywhere.
And then,
that doesn't sound very German.
No, it's not very German. We will take also beer.
I just thought that was a cute story, and
so
I was
they took
proud
the
of
beer.
this German town for buying up 200 crates of beer from their local grocery store so that the neo-Nazis could not party.
Really, because if you take the beer out of neo-Nazis, it just becomes just like
a lot of grumpy white guys.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of men here. Great. Anyway, yeah. So it's not.
But you
so
know
much
who's
fun.
not grumpy, Shai?
Who?
The Bahraini people about Israel.
Seemingly, Bahrain is a first thing, it's a much more beautiful town than I.
What, Manama?
Yeah, we said in the last part of the show, Manamana.
Manama.
Da 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 da
Yeah.
da. Manamana.
Yeah. It looks nice. Good weather out there in Bahrain.
I think it's
looks
hot.
like.
I think it's hot.
Yeah, it looks hot, but I'm sure they got the AC. I'm looking at pictures here from this reporter's notebook that was put up by Rafael Aaron of the Times of Israel.
Rafael Aaron happens to be a buddy of mine.
That's cool. The truth is I would not normally recommend you to read the Times of Israel necessarily, but this article that he wrote is really good. Basically, he's there. He's one
there.
of the journalists who
There was
was
25
invited.
journalists who were invited.
25 Israeli journalists.
I-24 was also there. Rafael Aaron, all kinds of folks were there.
Right.
I knew a lot of people there.
Wow. As you guys may remember, Israel was not officially invited to this Peace to Prosperity conference run by the United States because the Palestinian Authority refused to send any officials. So then the U.S. got nervous that it would look bad if Israeli officials were there, but Palestinian Authority officials were not there. So they told Israeli officials they couldn't come.
You know what? I think that turned out to be the best way possible. Why?
It's funny because I thought that it was not going to be so good, but it was good.
Because there was people tweeting. They were like, "Oh my God, it's a peace conference, but it doesn't even have Israel or the Palestinians.
Right.
It's
That's
a total
kind of
failure."
true. I mean, it's not a failure.
No,
it is funny.
But it turned out the other way. It turned out that it was really there was less political tension. Business people were able to talk, and there was plenty of Israelis and plenty of Palestinians,
Right.
and plenty of folks. They were just not on the political track.
Not political. And a lot of the anti-Israel activists are criticizing the event for not being political, and they want to get right into the main issues right away.
That's
and
'cause
if
they
we
want to
don't do
torpedo
that,
it.
if we don't do that, then it's not real and it's all fake and it's a sham and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Peace Now, I
Peace
think,
Now
wrote
put
it.
out
It's a sham,
yeah.
right? It's like, where do you get off saying that it's a sham? You mean because the managing director of the International Monetary Fund showed up to give a talk, and
One of the heads of
World
FIFA
Bank came, the chief of the world, the International Soccer FIFA Federation came, and
There was a panel.
officials from Arab countries
There
around
was
the
a
region.
panel just about women in the Middle East.
Yeah,
It was so interesting. And
you've been watching this conference.
You know what? I had a gut feeling. I had a gut feeling in my gut. My gut spoke to
a
me.
gut feeling in your gut,
In the gut. And the gut.
and inside
My gut.
your innards.
Yes, in my gut. And I felt in my heart that I had to watch this conference live as much as possible. Also, I was on I-24 yesterday, and I was going to talk about it, so I really watched it. I watched a fabulous, and also like you should have seen the way I did it. I was driving because I had to drive all the way to Jaffa yesterday, so I had my phone in split screen. One screen.
That is illegal. Are you telling me something about texting and driving right now?
Are you going to listen? This. I'm about to tell you what I did. I did nothing illegal at all. I had my phone was split into two screens.
Yes.
One screen was Waze.
Wow.
And one screen was YouTube.
So you could listen to the conference.
So I could listen to the conference. So it was like both telling me the same things, and I was like,
that must have been weird.
I was like, no, I was like, good on you, phone. And I had and that's actually what made me turn on the AC in the car. You know that I have issues with turning on the AC.
I would like you to meet my husband, Yishai. He has some things, quote unquote. You can't see my fingers doing the quote marks. Okay?
You can see my claw hands.
Yeah. It means I don't believe you. Anyway, Yishai has a few interesting things about himself. One is that he does not want to turn the air conditioner on in the car. Once he almost killed our entire family.
That is
next to the Kinneret. It was approximately 2.5 years ago. 3 years ago. It was not. It was all the children in the car.
All right.
And if a social worker had been there, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
It was so hot in that car. Whatever.
It was for
anyway, I'm glad to hear that you're coming around and that you turned the air conditioner.
It was for the sake of the phone. The phone can't take that kind of heat.
Oh my God, that's sick. Wait a second. So if I'd been in the car, what?
I'm saying it's
mic drop. I'm out of here.
Heat is good for you, sweetie. It's cleansing the pores, the sweat's good.
If I'd been in the car, you would have made me not be in the air conditioner, but the phone in the air conditioner.
No, I'm not saying that. Anyway, let's go on. The split was screened. Screen was split, and then guess who was? They had this women's panel, and they had these very smart ladies from different walks of life. One was some kind of really smart undersecretary for economic development from the United States. Very impressive lady talking about QIZs, qualified industrial zones, and she talked numbers about how these industrial zones between Egypt and Israel and between Jordan and Israel have done so much for those local economies. And then they had an Arab lady. She was not like the best English speaker. She was a lady in Egypt. She came up with a company called Pink Taxi.
Right.
Do you know what Pink Taxi is?
You told me it's a taxi service by women for women.
Right.
That's a really great idea, so that women won't feel sketched out when they get in a cab in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
or
and et cetera. You know, and in those societies, you know, it's not comfortable for a woman to get into this and to cab. All kinds of, and I mean this with total respect, cultural stuff over there. So fine, she created this idea. First thing, I love the name Pink Taxi. I thought it was so smart. You know, just so smart.
I could see that working in Israel too.
Yeah, and she said that she trained. She has 10,000 women drivers.
Whoa!
She talked about how she trained them and all that kind of all this stuff, and it was just like. And the conference was.
It's over now, right?
It's over. It was just, but you could see all the stuff on YouTube, and you should watch You should watch that women's panel.
Okay. I just want to watch. You know, honestly, it's not so intellectual.
It so nice, Malka.
The part that I want to watch is just when everyone arrives. That's the part I want to see.
I didn't get to see that kind of stuff, but it was. The bottom line is that the conference was obviously well organized, just thought out, and a lot of top people from around the world came to talk.
And it looks like
it made people like Peace Now Israel, who I'm not exactly a big fan of in the first place. It made them look like total idiots to me. Where they're like, it's a sham. Hey, people got together to talk about economic welfare of the region and Israel.
Incidentally, they treated everyone, both the people who were there and the people who were not there, with a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
And so I resent a little bit this treatment of the event as like just brushing it off as if like you didn't come up with it, so it's worthless.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly
it's like not your exact vision and what you thought was the best idea, and so you brush it off as like stupid.
I tell you.
Now I can understand. I can understand opposing it, right? I can understand opposing it or saying, we don't like this economic plan, or it's an untenable economic plan, or all kinds of things. But to like brush it off as stupid or a sham or things like that, I just I agree with you. I think it makes these organizations lose a lot of respect.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so what else did you want to say about the?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm looking at Rafael Aron's his article, Reporter's Notebook,
Yeah.
and he has a picture of a table of these Bahraini representatives in their beautiful traditional garb. I'm so about that, by the way. I wish we would do a little bit more stuff
Speaking
like
of
that.
air conditioning, right there.
Yeah, it's a lot of air
There's some
conditioning right
desert
there.
air conditioning right
and it
there.
looks beautiful, big glass wall of this conference center overlooking some big body of water. And
The Gulf.
Isha, is it right on the Gulf?
It's an island in the Gulf.
So I'm turning the image to you, Isha. You can see the representatives here are handing out refreshments, including a massive bowl of dates.
Yeah.
In
From
this,
a golden bowl.
gorgeous golden and silver. Like, I so wish for my Shabbat table.
Yo,
Bowl.
we are doing it Bahraini style here,
Yeah,
okay?
it's very, very nice. They
Dude.
really did do it Bahraini style.
Yeah.
And Rafael notes that they were like not at all afraid to use the word Israel. That
Right.
like the word Israel was plastered all over the place.
Right.
It was on his badge. It was on his badge twice. And he said that the Israelis were not treated differently than anybody else.
Right.
That they were provided the same kind of service and the same kind of assistance. And they were, of course, brought kosher food. There was non-kosher food at the event for sure, but kosher food was served to those people who wanted. And then he kind of insinuates that he went out to the street. He doesn't really talk about it so much, but that basically people were really nice to him everywhere, even when
Sure.
they found out that he was Israeli, that it wasn't an issue at all.
I think that people don't know that now here in Israel, you can go into some of the Arab villages and get murdered pretty quickly.
Or just drive in with your car and have
You'll have people getting you
and
stoned,
have your
and
life
that's
threatened.
that's because this area has been taught jihadism for a long time. That's the bottom line. It's been taught jihadism and fanaticism and Hamasism, etc., Muslim Brotherhoodism. But out in the Gulf states, they're like, okay, Israel's a trading partner. Israel's a good country. Israel's a...
So Israel and Bahrain, let's just note, and Rafael makes, I think, a bigger deal of this than it actually is. But Israel and Bahrain do not have diplomatic relations officially.
Great. Okay, so let's
And he's
work on
like,
that.
it's not going to happen for months or years. I'm not sure he is a big expert on that. I'm not sure that's necessarily true. And my guess is that Bahrain, after this event, is actually going to completely fall in love with Israel. Because I think that they're going to have really enjoyed
Malka, why even say
branching
that?
out to a very successful and a
Right.
very tolerant and a very interesting country in the region where everybody knows that Arabs can actually live a really good life and travel the country and come see it and come in and come out and do business, go to their holy sites, come to our holy sites, do all the things that a person could do in a normal country, normalized country. And I think that it's just a matter of time until they're going to say, like, let's just go all the way with this.
For the sake of not sounding over optimistic, I'll just say one simple thing. It was a good step forward. It was a good step
It was
forward.
a good step forward.
It was a good step
Israel
forward.
was treated nice. There were videos of Jason Greenblatt and his minion there in Bahrain, and everyone was psyched about it, singing Am Yisrael Chai.
According to Rafael Aron, he needed the minion for some reason, and it was because of him that they organized it.
Oh, is that right?
That's what he says. I don't know if it's true or not.
I didn't read that part.
But in any case, it was a good thing, and I think that I think that I'm going to sound like a little bit of I'm going to sound like a lefty here. It's really about hope or not hope, and I have hope.
Why is that a lefty?
Because like the whole Obama thing and hope and all that kind of like this, just the sound of it, the coloration of it could sound, liberal. But from that point of view, I am liberal. I'm hopeful, and it bothers me that many of the progressives want to knock this down and want to show hopelessness.
I think,
the only
Yishai,
hope that they have is
what
their
you're really
plan.
saying is that the left the left does not have a monopoly on hope.
Right. Monopoly on hope. I like that. Can I use that as the name
Absolutely.
of the show? Very good, Malka. Very good. Good stuff. That was good.
Copyright 2019.
That's right. Another Malka Fleischer victory. Malka Fleischer, I want to wish you a good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yesterday was my secular birthday, or my body birthday, so I wish your body health and success, and really to the body of the Jewish people and the globe, and the earth, and the human and humanity, the family of, from Yishai to humanity.
Wow.
Very
magnanimous of you.
I bless you, ye all.
Wow.
Okay, from the land of blessings. That's, by the way, how I want to finish off the show. From the,
Copyright 2019.
Yeah, copyright 2018. I want to say copyright 5778. I want to say 78? No, 79. Heading out to 5780. I want to say that the world is a good place. There's still a lot of bad people. There's still a lot of people who want to have a monopoly on hope, and it's only their hope that works. I think I like that very much, Malcolm. Monopoly of hope. I like that very much.
You got it. It's yours. I gift
Very
it to
good.
you on thy birthday.
Darn it, Malka.
Yes.
You make my life just a joy. You really do. You really do. God bless you. And God
Thank
bless
you.
you, folks, wherever you are. I want to wish you all a big Shabbat Shalom. I want to thank Ben Bresky, Moshe Herman, and Tabitha for rocking the net waves. That's a term I came up with years ago instead of airwaves, the net waves. So rocking the net waves and making sure that this show gets out everywhere. Remind you, folks, that you can help sponsor the show by dedicating to someone you love. And that's going to be it's just an easy way to help support the show. That's at YishaiFleischer.com. Check out our awesome network, thelandofisrael.com, with its many varied and interesting shows. And also come visit us in Hebron at hebronfund.org. Bi-weekly tour to the tombs of the fathers and the mothers, rocking it from Bahrain to Hebron. And also Tchelet. Maybe that sale is still on, so check it out. Last week we talked about the sale, TEKHELET. Also check out some of the, if you sign up for my email, you'll see some of our other sponsors, including an excellent weekly email called Very Good News Israel, which just fills your inbox with light and joy instead of the dark crud that you usually get. So there you go, folks. That's about it. So I want to thank you all out there. God bless you. Write an email, Yishai@thelandofisrael.com. Lots of blessings from the land of Israel, from the land of blessings. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay connected. Keep that radio, that spiritual radio tuned in, because God is broadcasting 24/7 and the station is loud. You just got to tune in. Malka, thanks again.
Thanks, Yishai.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Lots of
Shalom.
love.
Happy birthday.
Toda rabah. Shalom.
Prime Minister Netanyahu,
Benny Gantz,
Avigdor Lieberman,
Bezalel Smotrich,
Moshe Feiglin.
What's going on behind the scenes?
As